The one thing that I would suggest is planning ahead. It sounds really basic, but obviously if you plan ahead, you know exactly where you're going to go. You can obviously check the various entrances. Many sites and attractions have a regular entrance, and then they also have an accessible entrance. And many times too, Google Maps, Google Earth is fantastic. If you're checking out restaurants or shops, you can see if there's a little stair or a stoop that you might have to get over. It's particularly handy if you're in a wheelchair. And then the street view. If you're planning on doing some shopping or walking on the street, taking a look at the sidewalks. Do they have the curb that obviously allows for wheelchair access, or do you potentially need to bring a ramp or something along those lines, one of those portable ramps that can help you get around? So really just doing the planning ahead can help make your vacation much more enjoyable. So another thing that I would throw out there is to map your path. So again, if you know where you're going, it sounds like a lot of work, but if you can really follow these tips and go from place to place using some kind of map service, you can then obviously take the stress out of getting there and not knowing, oh my goodness, where are you going to go? I can't get up these stairs, I can't do this. If you've done all that in advance, kind of tying into tip 1 about planning, then you'll be able to get to where you want to go. So the next thing I would focus on here, and this is a hard one, but knowing your limits. Nobody knows your limitations better than yourself, right? So if you know that you have an issue that you can't do more than, let's say, 5 steps, know that about yourself. If you know that you need somebody to push you in a wheelchair to get around, it's more comfortable that way, it's going to be more enjoyable, know that. Sometimes we can have an alternative view of what we're able to do. And I think just being honest and realistic with yourself is going to make for a much better trip and a much better vacation. 2 more I have. So being prepared kind of goes along with the planning process, but be prepared. If you use some kind of a mobility device, whether it be a walker, a cane, a wheelchair, anything like that, understand that when you go to a different country, there may be different requirements. If there's anything you need to charge, some kind of electric device, you want to make sure that you have the proper adapters. If there's any kind of note from a doctor or script or something along those lines that you'll need to go through airport security, you want to make sure you have all of that stuff in advance. I know we all hear about prescriptions and everything else when you go through security, but some of these other devices may require a doctor's script or a note of explanation as well. So something to be aware of. The other thing that I will throw out there is if you use a wheelchair or some kind of motorized scooter, many countries obviously have their own electrical current, their own electrical adapters that you would need to use, but you can also rent a lot of those devices within the country itself so that you're not necessarily carting a scooter from country to country to country, or your own. Potentially, if it's heavy or bulky or you lose it or whatnot, you have some options, I guess. And just really also, if you're considering a cruise or something like that, it may be very easy to say, hey, it's a boat, the boat's accessible, I'm good to go. And that's true for most cruises. What I would caution is, again, be prepared with the excursions and the itineraries, because in many cases, those are the items that are not accessible. So there are options. It's certainly not a complete no, but you just need to understand kind of what you're up against and how you want to handle that. And that leads me to my last point. A lot of this stuff might be daunting, right? There's planning and mapping and being prepared, knowing your limits and doing all of that. You can also consider going with a tour. Really highly recommended if you're traveling by yourself, or if you've never gone to a particular place, or if you're just particularly nervous about the location and about your accessibility needs. If you go with a tour or a company that is obviously designed to handle folks with mobility concerns and make your vacation great, you're going to have a much better experience.